Oh, yes.
Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm very excited to bring you a look at the new vintage Beast Wars Transformers Deluxe Class Cheetor. For anyone not in the know, these vintage Beast Wars toys are re-releases and, unfortunately, recolors of the original 1996 Beast Wars figures. Anyway, if you've seen my reviews before, you know this goes. We're going to take a look at Cheetor's packaging. That includes the instructions and the tech specs because they're part of the card back. And then we're going to open it up and we're going to see Cheetor himself in both his Beast and Robot modes. I'll be doing plenty of group shots and comparisons today. And then at the end of the video, I'll give my final thoughts. So Cheetor comes in a recreation of his original Beast Wars packaging, complete with the Rocky Bubble. So that's very cool. For anyone not in the know, the initial release of the carded Beast Wars toys had this, very rough-edged, what they called Rocky plastic bubble around the toy. But then after that initial wave, they swapped out to just a more standard smooth bubble. So the Rocky Bubble ones commanded a higher price in the secondary market, and that design is in more demand. Luckily, Hasbro picked up on that feedback and decided to recreate that whole Rocky Bubble thing for this recreation packaging. So that's very cool. That might hurt the aftermarket value of anyone looking to resell their original Cheetor, but I'm going to be honest, I'm much more in the camp of collectors than I am sellers. I would rather people be happy with the toy they have than someone making money by withholding said toys for many years. Now, one thing I wonder, we talked about how Rat Trap's packaging was upsized because he was going from a basic to a deluxe. But looking at this now, I don't quite remember the original Deluxe's cards being so big. So if anybody has an original carded Cheetor and they're watching this, can you let me know in the comment section if this is indeed bigger or if I'm just misremembering? I don't remember the Deluxe as being quite so large. I mean, this is a big card back right here. Anyway, as I was saying, this is a recreation of the original, so you get your classic, red, reptile skin with a green eye going on there. You get the Beast Wars logo, nice and prominent here. And then we get the artwork, the original artwork of Cheetor, so that's very cool that they kept that. You get his name up here on the top, then you get the toy itself and the Rocky Bubble. You get a quick little how-to at the transformation. You get this little blurb right here, it says, with Water Blaster. And something to point out, the new packaging is multilingual, unlike the original packaging released in North America. So, there's going to be some compromises there. And you might be aware of that stuff already, you might not. Basically, because you got to fit more languages, there's less text overall, or, it's saying a lot less anyway. So you get your Beast Wars flavor text here. Then you get Cheetor's tech specs. He has a strength of 6, an intelligence of 5, a speed of 10. Right, it's a Cheetor, and then a firepower of 7. And the tech spec ratings are reduced from the original ones. They only have 4 this time, so they took out things like rank, and I think endurance was one, which I think is a shame, right? They're not even using text to describe them. They swapped out the words like strength and intelligence for just symbols. So why you couldn't fit all the originals on there is beyond me. I guess they're just trying to standardize it. I don't know. I don't like it. We get the secret weapon call out. It says secret weapon locations. It says tail becomes cannon, stomach becomes squirter, which is not the most intimidating sounding name for a weapon. Why couldn't they call like water cannon or something? I don't know. Hydro cannon. It's a squirter. Ooh. All right, and you get his allegiance and his name here, Maximal Cheetor, function Jungle Patrol. And his flavor text, or his, bio, which is, I gotta squint just to read it, is like a bolt of greased lightning, Cheetor strikes fast and strikes hard. He constantly stalks the jungle in search of Predacon enemies, daring them to challenge him and his laser-powered Quasar cannon. Sounds a lot better than Squirter. So yeah, that's the whole blurb you get. It's greatly truncated from his original because they gotta fit it in 5 different languages here. Not a fan. I talked about this with Rat Trap, and if any of you watch my Motu Origins reviews, you heard me probably gripe about that too. Yeah, I don't like when they sacrifice the quality of the packaging to save some negligible amount of money. Just not having to print 2 different ones. All right, then we get our instructions here. He transforms in 9 steps officially, and the first one just shows you the secret weapon storage. which is something that's honestly becoming a lost art in modern Transformers. A lot of the time with these new Transformers, they just slap the weapons on top. Like, they don't even try to hide it away or tuck it underneath or make it part of the alt mode. They usually are just sitting on top or on the side or something. All right, so there is our packaging, complete with the original Kenner logo, which is always a nice touch. Used to have so many Kenner toys, and I had like the Batman toys, the Beetlejuice toys. I loved Kenner. They made good stuff. All right, let's go ahead and open this up now. Okay, so here's Cheetor's Beast Mode, and you can see it's a rather disproportional cheetah. He's got these big old giant honking feet here, and he's very broad-shouldered and all that. Definitely not built like a cheetah, and there's actually a reason for that, and this is something we learned quite recently, in fact. The toy design that would eventually become Cheetor and in turn Tigatron was originally supposed to be a new version of the G1 Autobot Prowl, back when Beast Wars was, conceptualized as a continuation of G1, like direct continuation. So it would have been Prowl, and he would have turned into a panther. And panthers are, much bulkier cats than cheetahs are. So that somewhat explains why he is built the way he is. There's also just the fact that the limited engineering of the time is going to factor into that. But yeah, I do find that really interesting that originally it was going to be Prowl as a Black Panther, and then eventually this toy would end up actually getting turned into a Black Panther as a very different character. So funny how that came full circle. So you can see though, pretty well painted figure. It's got the spots all over it. It's got this very kind of craft cheesy, like golden shade of yellow. And then it's got this nice deep metallic blue for the robot bits that do show through here. Here's the very famous gut gun, and they call it that, one, because it actually forms part of like his, gut region, his belly, but also, as you'll see, it has like actual molded like intestines and stuff on the underside. It does, kind of break the illusion a little bit because you do have the like barrel right there coming off under his head, and you can see like the mutant head inside. But again, it was just the engineering of the time. His eyes are painted a rather dark shade of green. I don't remember them being quite that dark green on the old toy, but maybe they were, I'm not sure. And overall, if you've seen the Cheetor mold before, you kind of know what to expect here. And in the cheetah mode, at least, it does a very faithful job of recreating the original toy. For our first comparison, I have the 10th anniversary Cheetor toy. That is the same mold, but it's done up with a rather different paint scheme. Firstly, you can see that the yellow is kind of a duller, more metallic color. The eyes, while also green, are a much, much brighter color. Now, this is how I remember the green eyes of the original Cheetor toy. I could be misremembering. Maybe they were this dark. Honestly, I think the lighter green here looks a little bit better. And in the cheetah mode, you can't see, a huge, huge difference. Like, everything that's blue on this cheetah is blue on this one, albeit a different shade of blue. He does have that extra, like, Maximal symbol added on there, though, which I'm glad this one doesn't. That was kind of a weird choice on their part. So, in the cheetah mode, these two don't look remarkably different, just kind of different shades of color used. When we switch to the robot modes, you'll see quite a few more differences, though. Next, we have both versions of the War for Seibertron Cheetor mold. We have both the regular Kingdom release as well as the Netflix release. And the Kingdom one actually made my list for 2022 for like worst deluxe of the year. Sorry, for 2021. I have a lot of issues with this toy. One of said issues, just the very odd color choices that they went with. Like, the mold already has some problems, and then the colors on the Kingdom version just kind of make you scratch your head and wonder what they were thinking. The Netflix one does remedy that quite a bit. You can see this one comes in a more golden shade of yellow, which ends up getting a little bit closer to this one. Now, his is darker because he's more so actually trying to emulate the TV show colors than he is the original toy colors. But it still color matches up to this toy better than this weird, almost like mustard yellow that they use for the Kingdom one. And then, even though it's not very prominent in this mode, you can see the blues. Very, very different. Well, you can't see his blues too well. You see him like there. He gets that like deep metallic blue that the old toy and the CGI model have. whereas the Kingdom one got this really weird sky blue that just looks awful. Just another way to put it, just looks really bad. You'll also notice that the Netflix Cheetor has green eyes like this toy. Now that's kind of more accurate and kind of not. The very original Beast Wars Cheetor toy actually came in 3 different variants with different eye colors. You had the blue one, you had a green one, and you had red eyes too. This one's Beast Mode does, appear to be based on that green eyes variant, so he is accurate to that. Now in the show, when Cheetor transforms, the eyes of his cheetah head actually change from green to orange like his robot eyes. So, for these two, it's just kind of a trade-off whether you want his eye color to be more accurate in robot mode or beast mode. This reissue here kind of splits the difference, and we'll see when we transform him, just what that looks like. Alright, now it's time to transform our old school Cheetor toy. So the first thing you want to do is remove his accessories. So you go ahead and pull off his little rump and tail section. Fold that tail all the way back, set it aside. And carefully remove his gut gun from the belly area. Here's the aforementioned guts, which are not painted, but they never were. Barrel's at least painted. That's pretty cool. Alright, you straighten out the legs. Turn them around at the knee, like so. And you flip out his feet. Then, you go ahead, turn him at the waist. You bring the cheetah legs to where the feet are just kind of pointing down. You're going to take this little back flap, swing it down to become like the little crotch plate area that oddly enough has like some kind of cat face on it. And you fold the arms and the shoulder panels outward all the way. Rotate everything to a natural position. Then you take this cheetah head, kind of pull it facing you, rotate it 180, then push it in. Now we have the robot mode. Pretty simple, right? Not that much to it. It's an old toy. But he does look really cool. Before we give Cheetor his accessories, let's kind of take a look at some of the intricacies of him. So we saw that he had green cheetah eyes here, which, upon further research, it seems that this darker shade of green is actually from a Takara recolor, interestingly enough. His robot eyes are orange, like they are on the TV show. However, the original Cheetor toy never actually had orange eyes. Both the blue and red variants of the original toy actually had gold-colored robot eyes, and then the green-eyed variant had green eyes. So the orange is kind of all new. And we can flip down the mutant head to take a quick look at that. And the mutant head does actually have the original gold coloration for its eyes. So this guy's kind of all over the place with the references. He's got, the set of cheetah eyes from one release, the mutant head eyes from another, and then very original but show-inspired orange eyes for the robot head. So he's not exactly accurate to any one particular version of, Cheetor. But still, despite them kind of mixing up the eye colors to achieve, some kind of catch-all coloration, the rest of his colors are pretty spot on to the original release. You actually get the gold coloration for the forearms and hands, as well as the feet, which is something we haven't seen since, neither in the 10th anniversary or even in the new Kingdom toys, as we'll see soon. And like I said, his shades of yellow and blue used are just pretty close to spot on to the original. So he is probably the most faithful to his original 1996 toy than, any of the other reissues that Walmart's done here. For some reason, they decided Cheetor gets to keep his classic colors, but nobody else really does. Now, it could partly just be because his classic colors are just so very close to the show colors anyway, but I suppose we'll never really know what the thought process was there. I also do want to point out that, like every re-release of this mold after a certain point, the cheetah head, it points, straight outward, right? And you're probably used to seeing it like this. However, the very original toys, this head was actually molded in such a way to where it could push all the way into his chest, but also kind of face down like this, which was the inspiration for Cheetor's CGI model. They did, however, remove that option not long into the original toys run for some reason. I'm not really sure why. And I don't remember exactly which versions had what. I think like the very first Tigatron and the very like first 1 or 2 Cheetors, the cheetah head was actually able to look down inside the chest, and then they changed it. And it's been that way ever since. I'm not surprised. This just seems to be the version of the mold that now exists, so it's not going to be super, super original, sadly, but I would have honestly been shocked if they had actually fixed it and made it look down again. All right, so now we've seen Cheetor, you know, full body shot and all that. Let's get his accessories on there. I wanted to get a look at him first before I went and like covered up his arms and hands and stuff. Wanted you to see all that nice shiny goldness. Oops. All right, I typically put the gut gun in this hand, but you can do, you know, whatever you want. All right, now he looks pretty well decked out. And yeah, I mean, he's really impressive looking. For a toy that's 25 years old or almost 26 now, he strikes a very cool visage. I also want to show the prowl inspiration here in the classic head. Because obviously the shape of his, you know, robot head's a bit different than what they went with in the show. But you can see just how, you know, this could have been some version of a prowl toy. Like the forehead, little horns or crest, they're a little more exaggerated than classic prowls, but his actual face and everything, the very square chin, all that, does look like the G1 character quite a bit. Even the shape of the helmet and how, you know, the way it kind of tapers in around the cheeks. I mean, I can definitely see, you know, what they were going for with the original concept of this toy. Okay, here's our robot comparison with the 10th anniversary toy. And this is where the major differences shine through. So the first big thing is that any of the gold parts from the original, or in this case the vintage reissue, have been replaced with the same shade of blue that's used on the rest of the robot here. So that's something that really hurt the 10th anniversary toy when it came to accuracy. You can also see that this toy uses the green cheetah and robot eyes setup that the third variant of the original Cheetor did. And looking at the mutant heads here, you can actually see that he uses the green eyes on the mutant head, unlike the gold one for this. And that also does actually follow with the green-eyed variant of the original. Now, I don't really know if that was the intentional inspiration, but I actually kind of developed a theory here, because I've always scratched my head trying to figure out where this particular Cheetor's colors came from, why they are what they are, you know, based on the shades used and the elimination of gold in favor of more blue. Like, what is it? And I think I actually figured it out. Based on pictures I've seen, it looks like what they did with this Cheetor is they actually took the Fox Kids repaint of the standard Cheetor mold, which does appear to use, like, you know, these particular yellows and blues. However, that one actually had red spots on the cheetah body. It looks like they basically just took that, made the spots, you know, black again, slapped this little extra Maximal symbol on there, and called that your 10th anniversary, like, screen accurate Cheetor. So it seems like there was some real miscommunication there as far as what he's supposed to look like. Because when you look at the other 10th anniversary toys that they did, they're generally a lot closer to screen accurate than, you know, the standard vintage versions. So something just really went wrong with Cheetor here, and I think I finally figured out what it was. They really just, someone looked at the Fox Kids repaint and like, that's our Cheetor, and, you know, changed the spots to black and called it a day. And that was it. I could be wrong. I only have photos to go off of, and, you know, photos could always just get, you know, colors and stuff wrong, but it seems to line up pretty well. And because they did such a really terrible job of, you know, updating this Cheetor to make him look as the character should, I've always wanted for him, more than any of the other, you know, figures I already own, to get a better update. Which is why I didn't mind going in on this mold again. Even though I already have a Cheetor, this one just really scratches that itch a lot more for, you know, how the character should look both in toy form and TV form. So he kind of occupies that special place in my heart, as opposed to some of the other figures that either are out or are rumored to come down the pike. Like, I know they're talking about a Tarantulas coming, and I will not be shocked if that new Tarantulas that comes out is basically just the 10th anniversary version, because that one already nailed the colors. So even if its colors aren't exactly the same, they're going to be really close, I bet, and I bet like the color layout and everything is going to be identical, so I won't see much of a reason to pick that guy up. Like, the 10th anniversary Tarantulas is already the perfect update using the original mold, whereas this guy really missed the mark. So, I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But as of right now, I may skip out on any future Tarantulas or anything else they might do. If they do Dinobot, they better do him close to his original toy colors, because if he just looks like the 10th anniversary one, well, that one I might actually pick up, assuming it doesn't have gold plastic syndrome. Again, all speculation right now. We don't know anything for sure beyond the second batch of toys that just, released, the Tigatron and the Scorponok. For our final group shot, we're going to look at the War for Seibertron Cheetors again. So, Kingdom on the left, Netflix on the right. Now these two, they were really trying to reinvent the wheel with how the toy was supposed to transform. There's almost nothing similar between, these toys and this one as far as the transformation. And they were doing that, as kind of a way to create something that's better proportioned and, more screen accurate. And in some ways they succeeded. Obviously, Cheetor's build here with the new toys is closer to how he looked in the show, and the cheetah, form is much more, not just real life accurate, but screen accurate too, as far as its proportions. I think where the Kingdom Cheetor and, his recolor fall short, one, the accessories. They gave him a tail whip, which is a nice callback to his Transmetal form, but not what anybody was looking for. Like, everyone was hoping for him to get at least one of his classic weapons. I wasn't expecting both, because you have to have somewhere to hide them, and this cheetah mode is much more light than this one. But at least one of his classic weapons, I think, was, the bare minimum expectation from people, especially his more iconic, gut gun. So a lot of people, including myself, were very put off when he just got this, because, this is just kind of a cop-out, in my opinion. There's definitely a way that they could have made his tail at least transform into this gun, rather than just be this static piece like that. Also, the way he kind of comes together, I never really liked. His torso's got a really weird shape to it. The way, like, the cheetah neck, kind of curves in. It's very concave, and just... It always felt like a spindly, fragile little toy. And even though I appreciate what they were going for, I always thought the execution was pretty bad, which is why he made my list for, worst deluxe. Now, the Netflix version, it sought to, fix some of the issues, at least when it comes to the colors. They fixed the actual colors used, as far as your blues and your yellows and all that. But then they went and they actually had less paint on the Netflix version than they did on the Kingdom version. They took the paint off his legs, which you could argue makes the cheetah mode more realistic, but I don't know if I buy that as the reasoning. I think they just wanted to save money. So, they took the paint off of here, they took the paint off his weapon, which there's no reason to do that other than cost cutting. And they still, failed to give us any kind of gold or anything on him. So, they basically, with these two releases, ensured that we're not going to get a definitive Generations Cheetor anytime soon. They could have taken this, they had the right idea, they were getting there with the colors, but by them cutting back on that paint budget, they made this guy almost as disappointing as this one. The only thing he's got going for him is he doesn't have, the obnoxious play school colors. So, yeah, even though this toy is older and simpler and, has proportions that really don't match the TV show, he's still a more satisfying figure than the, supposed updates or upgrades. So he kind of has that in common with Scorponok. Now, definitely not to the same degree. If you watch my Scorponok review here, you know that I think the original is just leagues better than the Kingdom one. I don't think he's that much better than these, but he doesn't feel compromised. He was just kind of doing what he was doing. And he pulls it off very well. He's a very solid figure, has lots of accessories, cool features, right? This thing sprays water. I haven't mentioned it, but that's like a little water bladder. You can shoot water out of it. It's got the mutant head, all kinds of cool stuff. So while he may be kind of a brick by today's standards, I just find him to be a far more enjoyable figure than the actual updated Cheetor. And this completes our look at the vintage reissue of Beast Wars Cheetor. You can see that this is coming fairly late, even after the, Wave 2 Scorponok, and that's because I started this review a while back and, finally got around to finishing it. I wanted to get it done before I reviewed his mold mate, which, surprisingly, Tigatron. So yeah, I really want to get him done finally. He's just kind of been sitting on the back burner. Not that he's not a cool toy or anything, it's just, I don't know, these Beast Wars, the vintage Beast Wars stuff, or really even the Kingdom Beast Wars characters, they don't tend to do as well. So it kind of demotivates you from wanting to, go through with these. But I decided it was finally time to give Cheetor his long overdue, finish review. And I gotta say, I'm happy I did, because it's just a reminder of how much I really like this toy. I've always been a fan of the original Cheetor toy, even though I never really owned the original. Like, I got that 10th anniversary one, but that was already 10 years after the fact. I had some friends that had it, and I was always so enamored with it. I'm like, oh, this thing's so cool, but I never got one myself. So I really like the toy for what it is, and now I'm really happy to have one that actually looks mostly like the original. Again, they took some liberties, especially when it came to like the eye colors, but it's close enough. Much more so than like any of the other vintage reissues so far for Beast Wars. So I'm really happy with it. These guys are still very plentiful on the shelves, and like my Walmart is drowning in Cheetors and rat traps right now, which is unfortunate. I don't think it's a sign that people don't want these. I think it's just Walmart's tendency to absolutely flood the shelves with their own exclusives while completely failing to stock like the general retail stuff. So I think that's a problem. Also, I think the price is an issue for people too. This guy does, come in at $23, which is over twice what he originally retailed for. And yes, the price is going to go up, but is he worth about 130% more? Yeah, probably not. I mean, this isn't a very complex toy. It's pretty simple. So yeah, I think the price, kind of pushed a lot of people away. Now, all of those Wave 1 Beast Wars guys have since gone on clearance a few times, and I think currently still are on clearance. I think you can pick Cheetor up for about $16 now, which I'd say is a lot more reasonable, given inflation and everything. It's probably closer to what he should be. Then the other guys, I think, are on clearance too. So if you've been contemplating picking him up, now is definitely the time. Because even though they're flooding shelves now, they won't be there forever. Eventually they will sell down, they'll get clearance out, and if you didn't pick it up, they're going to get a lot more expensive on the secondary market. So if you're thinking about this Cheetor, go ahead, pick him up now at a discounted price. I think you'll be very happy with him if you never, got to experience the original, or you're just, craving that nostalgia of the original. Of course, this is just my take on the Cheetor toy, so now I want to know what you all think of this. First of all, are you rolling your eyes at me for being this late? Get this review out. But more seriously, do you like the figure? Like, sure, he's not very screen accurate because, he was designed before the show was, but do you like him for what he is, or do you think he's too much of a brick? Do you think the colors are, close enough to the original? Do you like the fact that they kind of mixed and matched the different eye colors to get, kind of the best of all worlds there? Or do you wish they would have kept it, more original, more vintage? Any and all feedback's always welcome in the comments section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me for this, albeit rather delayed, look at the not-so-new Walmart exclusive vintage reissue of Beast Wars Cheetor. And with all that said, I will see you next time.